It's very hard.
I don't know how I did. Hopefully top 20. There's already enough things you have to think about. The way that the ruck fits, it rubbing, your shirt, the heat, all of that, and not to mention all the competitors. So just the fewer things that you can think about, the better. It's a great event. We're having a good CrossFit Games. I think that they give a great test of fitness here.
A little feedback from Cole Sager after this morning's Ruck event. Back inside the FITAID lounge here for another edition of the Morning Chalk Up Show presented by FITAID. It just so happens we have the founder and CEO of Goruck, the bags that you saw on the competition floor. Jason McCarthy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man.
So we got to see the Goruck bags used this morning in competition to kick off day number 2. For you as a founder and operator of the company, what was it like to see your product out there strapped to the fittest athletes on earth?
I mean, these are purpose-built rucksacks, right? I mean, they're built for rucking, and so you want to see, if you own a Porsche, you want to take that thing, you want to see how fast it can go, right?
That's a good point.
You don't want to buy a Porsche and go 35 in suburbia, right?
Yeah.
You want to see how fast can it go, and so it was really cool to see it on such elite athletes and see what they could do with it.
Yeah, totally. And so now maybe kind of taking a step back and looking at the company as a whole, how did Goruck get started, and what's kind of your guiding philosophy as a company?
Right, so our foundation is the Special Forces way of life. And, that was my transition out of the military was, I started Goruck. And it became kind of a bridge for me between the military and the civilian world.
Yeah,
and so that's been our ethos and our Northern Star and all that. It's just the Special Forces way of life, but making it inclusive. And I don't mean by watering anything down. I just mean you show up and you do the work. And that's the Special Forces way of life. Elite, not elitist. And put the miles in, do the work, all that kind of good stuff. Love it.
And so, taking a look at the bag, we actually got one here right now. What are some of the specs of this bag? Because I know there were some modifications just for the games.
Well, the Ruck itself was not actually modified.
Okay.
There were some filler bags that they put in.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
Credit to Dave on the programming. I've been rucking for a long time, and the idea of doing a shorter ruck that increases every lap in weight is not, it's counterintuitive, but it's kind of leveraging just a very basic foundational movement of rucking. So specific to that, I mean, you've got really beefy shoulder straps, right? I mean, that's, if you're gonna carry weight, that's what you need a rucksack to do. So you want those to feel good, not when you're in the store squishing them, but when they're actually carrying weight, you know? And then, sternum strap attachments wherever you want or need them. But the special kind of value here is in the ruck plate pocket, which is right here. So maybe you can
absolutely.
Give me a hand. I want to drop the mic, but we've got this is where the ruck plate sort of started out. So this is 20 pounds. They all started out that as baseline weight in there.
Yeah.
And then every time they came around, they added 10 more pounds.
Cool.
So they started out with, 20, 25 pounds, including the rucksack.
Yeah.
And then it was 30 pounds, then 40, then 50. And so I was just really, really impressed with their splits and their times. And I know nobody trained with that in mind, right? Increasing the weight on a per mile basis is just, as far as I know, I've never seen anybody program it like that. And it was just really cool.
Well, that's what you get sometimes at the CrossFit Games. Something out of left field, and maybe it shifts the game just a little bit. So I know you guys are here at the games as well, beyond just having product, on the competition floor. What's kind of the Goruck footprint, and what kind of stuff do you guys have going on site for fans and people here?
Yeah, so we're running a fan activation. So people are coming out. We're doing a Battle Buddy Hero Wad in honor of Will Lindsay, who was a buddy of mine from 10 Special Forces Group, KIA this year. Left behind a wife and 4 daughters, right?
Man.
It's one of those things where it makes me sad, it makes me a little angry, frankly, but at the same time, sometimes you got to sweat it out, and then you got to drink a beer when it's over. It's okay to smile and to honor people that way. So that's important to us. And then we've got a booth, and the booth is designed around just explaining to people what we do, and you show up, you knock out some push-ups with a rucksack on, or do some snatches with a sandbag or whatever. We'll give you a patch, stuff like that. So it's really about the community for us, which is what we love about this place so much, is that CrossFit is about the community as well. Without the community, CrossFit's not CrossFit. Same with Goruck.
Yeah, totally. And so for anyone following along at home that's not on site, where can they keep up to date with your stuff and maybe find your products?
Yeah, so you can check us out at goruck.com and also through Rogue Fitness.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. These bags look awesome. We're going to have to give one a a run one of these days. Guys, other stuff going on. We had our very own Brittany Klein test out a little jump rope course that was done by former subject matter expert Chris Rollins as a part of the Buddy Lee jump rope course. Check it out, she killed it.
To do was lead a couple of demos, show some of the more foundational and functional aspects of the Buddy Lee training system.
Oh my goodness, we don't do this in CrossFit!
One of the things that we emphasize with our course is the foundations and the fundamentals, because that's been left out. And truth be told, if you're learning proper jump rope progressions, a single under and a double under, that's not a straight line path. There's a minimum of 11 of the skills that should be learned in progression. To bring it to CrossFit, Buddy's training system, what we did was extract the most relevant jump rope skills that have sport-specific carryover to the specific things that we do in CrossFit, the things that help the most with weightlifting, the things that aid the gymnastic movements, the things that you really need to have. And then we also threw in the most critical foundational skills that have the most impact on developing total body coordination.
Oh, I did it!
I saw it. And I was like, I come here to the CrossFit Games, this is my first time here, and it's like the only thing I don't like is that I can't participate. I want to be part of this. It's so much fun. The people are great, the energy is fantastic.
Now with CrossFit handing over the reins to you with the specialty course, how has that changed?
For me, it hasn't changed a bit, other than I have to manage the registrations myself, but I really like it because number one, we're able to lower the price because we don't have to split with CrossFit anymore. So we've made it, by doing that, we've made it more accessible to more people. We're still, like I said, it's a 7 CEU course in terms of what you get for your CrossFit trainer, and we're just very proud of it.
I like jump roping. I think it's cool. So that's a course that I want to take. I am going to be a teacher, so the educator's course is something that I want to take.
So I got to do some really cool stuff with the group today. I got to throw some skills at them that they've never seen or done before, and we had a blast. So
we struggled a little bit, but
yes, we did. Yes, you all did a great job.
Survived.
Look at you, crushing it out there with the jump rope.
I wouldn't say crushing it. It was actually surprisingly difficult. I feel like double unders is the one skill that I've got now, but as you heard there from Chris, that it's often about paring back the skills, getting progress by, getting better at something that, single unders, working on those skills.
Absolutely, and I've talked with Chris before, and one of the things he mentioned that everyone just thinks there's singles and doubles, but there's so many other skills that actually benefit you as an athlete with the jump rope course that they could teach you kind of in between those
What do we say, master the basics?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So shifting gears now, we're going to focus on some competition. We're going to take a look at your overall team standings after about midway through day number 2, and then first place overall, it is CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, no surprise. They're holding strong atop the overall leaderboard for the teams. CrossFit Krypton has been solidly in second all weekend long. Mayhem, still has about a 90-point lead over them, so they're gonna have to make up some ground if they want to get the top spot. Invictus, OC3 Black in 3rd and 4th, making a push up to the leaderboards. Central Beast, who were 3rd coming into the day, slips down to 5th, but still well within striking distance of that podium. And let's talk some of the top stories from the teams. I know teams like Mayhem been at the top, then Invictus, OC3, some of these other things that kind of put themselves in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it this morning, OC3, they've really been consistent this morning. Also, I like the story of Invictus. They finished up 13th in the first event, but they've really been consistent right throughout every other event, and that just shows the experience of Games athletes like Lauren Fisher. They know that they can't just go out there, wow, it's all with one event. They continue to just prove that time after time a solid placing is going to get them up the leaderboard.
Yeah, Invictus and OC3 Black, the bottom 2 teams after the first event. Well, now they're sitting pretty in 3rd and 4th, both with a great shot at making it to the podium. We're going to take a look now at the men's competition. We have your updated overall leaderboard for the men. We had some kind of controversy in the Goruck event where Matt Fraser, who is your overall leader, He had a penalty assessed. It was a 1-minute penalty in the Goruck because a bag fell out of his Goruck bag during the final turn. Assessed a 1-minute penalty, dropped him down the leaderboard.
Yeah, and if any one of our viewers or readers want to see that, Dave Costro's just posted vision of that at the moment that the rogue bag does drop out of his rucksack. And you do see Matt Fraser kind of look over his shoulder, doesn't see the bag on the floor, so I think we're going to assume that it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He's continued running on in a 17th place now in that event.
Yeah, knocks him down point-wise a little bit. That leaderboard we just showed you was our leaderboard after the morning's events. I'm going to give you guys the updated standings right now. Matt Fraser is in first with 311 points. In second place is Noah Olson at 309, just 2 points back. Didn't get his first event win ever. It was close. He got a second, but it moves him up into second overall. James Newberry is 1 point behind Noah Olson, so the top three athletes separated by just 3 points. Kind of a crazy turn of events. Adrian Moonviller, 7th. He hasn't really been in the conversation for the top 10 most of the day, but with a 15th and a 7th, he moves up into 4th. A ton of parity on the leaderboard. I mean, what jumps out on the page for you right now?
Well, of course, what jumps out for me is an Aussie on the podium at the moment.
Yes,
James Newberry, he's been so consistent, and as I said, when we saw him on the sideline yesterday, he just looks cool, calm, and collected. He's a Veterans Games athlete. He's always been kind of in that 20th place finishing, but we've seen him wow at the Pacific Regionals for years now. So I think he's just kind of really growing into himself in the sport. And I've got to give a shout out to my friend from my hometown of Brisbane, Matty McLeod, a rookie, and takes an event win on his first year here at the Games. So we're pretty proud of you, Matty, and it was great to see him just floor the field with that event in Heat 1.
Absolutely smoked it. A great performance from Matt McLeod, the rookie. Just to guys give you a heads up how tight the point spread is. You look at 4th place Adrian Moonviller has 276 points. Will Morad, down in 13th, has 249. So that's 27 points separates 4th from 13th. We're now cutting down to 30 athletes, so the point spreads are only going to get larger. That means with a good performance, you can catapult yourself up the leaderboard from potentially being close to the cut line to maybe even in the top 10, pushing for one of those podium spots. So nothing is settled yet, and probably the tightest race that we've seen thus far between some of the athletes and Matt Fraser. So it'll be exciting to see how Matt rebounds.
Yeah, and you see names like BKG, Pat Vellner, 10th, 11th, but like you said, the point spread isn't that wide. A good event, and they could be back there in the top 3 to 5.
Yeah, last year's podium finisher Lucas Hogberg took a first place in the Goruck event. Actually moved him back up in the top 10, kind of building himself a little bit of momentum. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit over to the women's competition. We just watched that event go down. That was an exciting event, and Amanda Barnhart walks away with the win.
Oh, it was fascinating to watch. I mean, a sprint at North Park, there's nothing like it. She just powered home on that sled push. And in the recap interview, she was saying that she's got legs that can push, and that's really what she did. She paced it on the bar muscle ups and then could just drive it home.
Showcasing some better gymnastics than last year. We saw something similar from Amanda Barnhart last year in the Chaos event on the tumbler at the very last moment, with basically pulling that kind of big kind of tumbler rolling pin, whatever you want to call it, passing a ton of people. That's what she did on the sled here. Absolutely blew by the leader and took the first place finish overall. Just going to read you the updated standings because we don't have a full leaderboard just yet. Tia Clark Toomey is in first, followed by 2nd place Amanda Barnhart. The event win, her 2nd career event win at the CrossFit Games, moves her up into 2nd. She's 13 points back. Kristen Holta is in 3rd, holding strong in the top 3. Carrie Pierce in 4th, just 1 point behind Holta. Then Jamie Green and rookie Danielle Brandon holding strong in the top 10 with a 6th place finish.
For me, that's the story of the day, seeing her in that final heat. She was so impressive, and she has an event win at her first year of the Games. She's really showing us one to beat.
It's always impressive when we get to see a rookie show up strong in the CrossFit Games. Danielle has been a top performer, potentially a regional level athlete in the past, but has always had to decline because of track season when she was competing at Sac State University on the track team. So maybe just one of those beasts kind of lying in wait, didn't necessarily know how good she was going to be coming into this. So that's going to do it for the women's competition. We're actually going to give you guys a little interview. Earlier in the day, I had a chance to catch up with a major player in the new sanctional system. His name is Matt O'Keefe. He's the president of Loud and Live Sports. Loud and Live owns and operates 5 events. They're also kind of the brains behind the International Online Qualifier, which is helping streamline the qualification process for the season. Take a look. Hey everyone, Tommy Marquez here, back inside the FITAID Lounge on the Morning Chalk Up Show set. I'm joined now by the president of Loud and Live Sports, Matt O'Keefe. Matt, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
So Loud and Live, you've got a huge undertaking here at the Games, but there's been some really exciting developments for what you guys are taking on for the season next year. Do you care to elaborate on some of those new developments?
Yeah, thank you. We just finished our acquisition of the Granite Games, which we're really excited about for June of next year to add to the other 4 events, Wodapalooza, West Coast Classic, Madrid Championship, and the Mayan CrossFit Classic. So we're really excited about that and ready to dig in and see what we can do with that. And then we are working with a few of the other sanctionals that we aren't necessarily involved with. Filthy 150, the Atlas Games, and Sulfit in Argentina. We've collected those events with our Wodapalooza online challenge, and we've created the international online qualifier. So we just want to test it out and see how it flows. We really, as a group, I would say collectively, the sanction owners in general feel a high sense of responsibility to try to figure this whole qualifying system out. And I think this is the first step for that, is digging in a little, see if this works, see how it flows, and then hopefully in the years to come, either creating another one so there's 2 checkpoints on the calendar. Granite Games has one. We might be able to use that. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. But the idea would be to consolidate that a little so that it's easier on the athletes.
And so I think you touched on a key point here, is that the sanctionals are very communicative with one another in terms of trying to create the best practices for this new system. And I think that's fantastic. But you guys also have a pretty big footprint here. We're literally sitting across from the desk, the Loud and Live desk over there. What's your guys' role in terms of broadcast and media here at the 2019 Games? Yeah,
it's been really fun for us. It's a new venture for us, really, broadcasting. I mean, we did 19.5, which was our first go around, and it went really well. And we decided to broadcast in Spanish. With our Mexico and Spanish events, it made a ton of sense for us. And so we have a full broadcast in Spanish this year, and it's been super fun and successful. People are loving it. We could be better, obviously, and we're working on that. But it's been a ton of fun. So we're doing that, and certainly we're building a ton of content in general for athletes we work with. So we have some people that are, on the stages taking photos and making sure those guys have some good stuff to put out for the weekend.
Yeah. And honestly, one of the biggest questions that comes up, and probably the one that's on a lot of people's minds, is Loud and Live Sports also is involved in athlete management, managing some of the top names in the sport, along with running events. And a lot of people maybe feel like there could be a conflict of interest there in terms of having your hands in both of those pots. What would be your response to that? What's your kind of approach to that when you hear the people talk about a potential conflict?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I get it a lot. I think a little bit of it came up this year with Wodapalooza, and I think, I hope people's experience as athletes, at least in the sport, have, our actions speak loud enough. It's not a non-traditional model is really what the answer is. I think a lot of other sports would tell that same story. I think we have integrity, and we're not conflicted, so it's that conflict doesn't exist for us. There's a lot of separation and systems in place. Quite frankly, I have nothing to do with that part of it, nor would I ever want that. But you look at some of the bigger agencies in the world in sport. The IMGs, with PGA Tour events, and the UFC, works with fighters and runs the sport. I know a little different format. I've brought the golf thing up before. Tiger Woods owns 2 events, The way you set up a golf course, because I'm a golfer, is monumental to a golf outcome. So it's not crazy outside of the box, but I do understand it, and quite frankly, I would never, the biggest thing I would say is, I've worked with these kids for a long time. I would never compromise their accomplishments and put an asterisk on that. So, if anything, we're more careful than we've ever been with that stuff. And I'll keep answering it, and I think what you'll see this year is how we act. I'm all into actions. It's intentions are great, but how you act is paramount to anything else. I think you'll see that it works really well, and we care deeply about the sport. So we're excited to be a big part of it.
And so that was going to be kind of my follow-up, is like, what are some of the things that maybe you guys might be looking to kind of maybe help, like in terms of actions, to kind of maybe clear that up, or basically showcase what your guys' intentions are and how
Yeah, I think what we've put in place is we've collected a lot of the big minds in the space and put them in a board of advisors, and we call it a programming collective. And you know, they're not people I necessarily work with or have worked with or work with any of the athletes that we work with, right? So, you know, and they're very protective of that. And there are even some people that have probably questioned that. So we're putting them all in a room. I mean, you would know all the names, and it's a big group of people, and they're handling it. Danny Lopez is our director of competition, and he's working with that group closely. And, you know, we'll just be very forthcoming. You know, people will understand it. Those guys will all speak to it too, and I think they're great people to ask about it because they'll understand how it works and, you know, how those systems that are in place to make sure that there's no improprieties, really. You know?
Yeah. And so now maybe looking to the 2020 season a little bit and everything, because some stuff is already in motion, especially with the IOQ, the International Online Qualifier. What are some things that you want to put on people's, I guess, radar in terms of how they can get involved and what they can look forward to for you guys in 2020? Yeah,
I mean, listen, you know, our events, you know, are mass participation, so I think that's a really important message to get out. Is this is, you know, we're sanctioned, so there'll be a prize involved for the elites, right? But I think the focus is really the community. You know, when you look at Wodapalooza, it's always been that. You know, obviously it's tougher to get access to that event because you have to qualify. But you know, California, we're just going to have a sign-up model for team participation division. Mexico, same. Madrid, same. We really want those local communities to participate, so we're really going to dig in locally in those markets. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, compete, really, come out, and then, you know, come out and support it. We have 900 volunteers in Wodapalooza, same in Granite Games. There's a lot of opportunity to work with us, and we're welcoming everybody and anybody. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But that's the biggest message is, you know, our events are more than just that elite component. All of them. Yeah.
And so the IOQ registration is going on right now. Where can anyone kind of sign up and get involved if they want to?
Yeah, so you can go to Wodapalooza.com. That's the best place to do it. And you know, just so people are clear on that, you can choose where you send your scores to any of those events, and they'll be the same workouts, and that'll start the first week in August and run 3 weeks for the individuals, and then the team component will come on the back side of the Open. So the beginning of December, we'll do our team qualifier, which is always a big, fun part of the season for us, especially. And you know, just so we're clear too, like our other events, we're going to use the Open for some of them, for the elite side of things. So when you're talking about California, Mexico, and Spain, there will be an opportunity for people to qualify into the elite competition through the Open. So we're gonna be a part of that, support that as well. We believe in the Open.
Yeah. Awesome. And the Open is a great competition to use. It's good to hear that you guys are going to be using it as well. It's kind of streamlining some of the qualification process. Matt, I know you're a busy man. We'll cut you loose, but thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you. Great to be with you, man. Thanks for having me.
So some big things coming your way from the Loud and Live crew in 2020. I want to thank Matt O'Keefe for joining us once again. Got a few more things before we get out of here. Most importantly, we just found out what individual event 5 is. It's a classic CrossFit workout. You may be familiar with her, Mary. So complete as many rounds as possible in 20 minutes of 5 handstand push-ups, 10 single leg squats alternating, and 15 pull-ups. The time cap, obviously 20 minutes. After the event, they are cutting to 20 athletes, which means we will start Saturday with only 20 athletes in the field. There's a note that athletes advance to a second set of equipment for round 16 and on. If I was doing it, we wouldn't have to worry about that because I wouldn't get that far anyways. But for some of these athletes, that's certainly a possibility. With that in mind and what we've just seen on the competition so far, who are some athletes you have your eye on?
Well, even before this was announced, I was going to be looking at Sarah Sigmundsdottir. We imagined that this was going to be the cut. If it was cut right now, she wouldn't make it. She's in 25th position. She was my pick for the top of the podium. I thought that she had what she needed between the ears, that she sorted out that part of her game. Let's hope that from down and out she can really rise to the occasion. And this is a workout that all of these athletes would have done. Maybe they've done it weighted, who knows? So they know what they're in for. They can strategize. It's our first night in the Coliseum. Really, everyone needs to bring their A game.
For me, I've got 2 athletes in particular, 2 male athletes. First one is Jacob Hepner. From a few years back, there was a Road to the Games episode, I believe. A good pal, Marcin Sawyers of the Buttery Bros. He actually filmed a video of Jacob Hepner doing Mary, and I'm pretty sure he broke the workout. It was like a world record-esque type performance from him. I know Jacob is absolutely giddy to do this event. Right now he's sitting in the top 5 and 5th overall. This could be the type of event that catapults him into a podium-style position going into Saturday. And then the next one, this one's kind of boring, not really boring. Everyone loves to see him compete. But Matt Fraser, for the first time in 4 years since 2015, he has had back-to-back finishes outside of the top 10. The last time that happened in 2015, it was one of the sprint events and then the soccer chipper. His next 2 events were a 4th and then a 1st. So he responds to pressure very well, and this is kind of what makes a champion a champion. When you get a couple punches that don't roll your way, how do you stand back up? How do you keep fighting? And I have an inkling that Matt is just going to come out and torch this event.
There is nothing like an angry Fraser.
Yep, and showcase the world why he's the fittest on earth. So that's going to do it for us here. We'll be back again once the competition is done inside the FITAID Lounge around 5:30. We'll be here to wrap everything up and bring you some instant analysis from the very first events inside of the Coliseum. For Brittany Klein, I'm Tommy Marquez. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys on the backside of the final events of tonight.